Verse this morning to Matthew chapter 24. We'll start there. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14. This is a verse that we need to understand and see how it fits into what we're going to talk about today. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. We're right at the end almost of the tribulation period. We're not here. Where are we? Heaven. Aren't you glad? It started back in chapter 6. The world was destroyed and people were killed and calamities happened as Jesus opened the 7 seals, each seal bringing more torture to this earth. And then we got to the point where we had the 7 trumpets. Every trumpet judgment again was a catastrophe on this earth. The people were so upset with all this going on that they wished they could die, but many of them couldn't. And demons were let loose, 200 million of them, plus all the ones that were let out of the pit. And Satan was kicked out of heaven. And where did he land? On earth. So basically, we've had a lot of stuff going on this earth. But we don't have to worry about it, do we? Just those that are left behind. That's why it's so important that we do our job to see people come to Christ. During the tribulation period, there's going to be a great outpouring of souls that are saved. A lot of people say, well, there's not going to be anybody saved during the tribulation, but there's going to be lots. There's going to be reasons for these people to be saved. Number one was the 144,000 evangelists that we saw. 12,000 from every tribe of Israel. They are evangelists. They are preaching the gospel and seeing people come to the Lord. Then the second thing that's going on, how people are getting saved, is the people that get saved during the tribulation are telling others. So they'll be able to witness to other people what has happened to them. The third one we see in chapter 14 of Revelation, if you'll turn there, please. Chapter 14 of Revelation, verse 6. And I saw another angel fly into the midst of heaven. Now, we talked last week about the midst of heaven. That is a Greek term that means the highest point that people can see in the sky. When the sun is at noontime, that's the highest point that you can see. He's having the gospel preached unto them that dwell on the earth. This angel is like a loudspeaker that everyone is going to be able to see. Can everybody see the sun at one time or another on the whole earth? That's the way it's going to be. And what's the angel going to be saying? To every nation and kindred and tongue and people. How does that fit with the verse we just read? Jesus is not coming back until everyone hears the gospel. You might say, well, how can that be? Some people in the jungle don't have the internet, don't have television, don't have radio. Are they going to hear the gospel from the 144,000? Are they going to hear the gospel and see this angel? Yes, everyone will hear and see. Saying with a loud voice, the angel, verse 7, fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. Right now, the Antichrist is telling everybody to fear him, to fear the devil, so they have a choice. and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. They're given an opportunity between the 144,000, the witness of the people that get saved, the two witnesses that we talked about a couple weeks ago, they're going to be preaching the gospel, and also the angel. Why does God do this when the world is going to end very, very soon? Why does he do it? Who wants to tell me? His mercy and his grace. He would that no one would perish. He's given everybody an opportunity before it's everlastingly too late to come to the Lord. That's his desire. That's his goal. And he's going to accomplish it. Is everybody going to repent and get saved? No. They've had every opportunity in the world, and they still reject the Lord. If you continue in verse 9, the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receives his mark in his forehead or his hand. What's the mark of the beast? 666. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. What's going to happen to the people that don't repent? They're going to burn in the hell and the lake of fire. That's their alternative. When you ask yourself, why wouldn't people want to accept the Lord and escape hell? It's beyond me. Yes?
Will the 144,000 and the three angels and the two witnesses and the other people that got saved, will they all be testifying before the mark of the beast would happen?
No, it's after the mark of the beast. Because he said those that haven't accepted the mark of the beast. So basically, the Satan and the beast and the false prophet have already done what they think is enough. So this is God's counter offer, but people won't accept it. The smoke of their torment, verse 11, ascendeth up forever and ever. They shall have no rest day nor night who worship the beast. Remember, the beast looked like it had been killed, and it came out from the dead, but he didn't really. One of his heads looked like it had been killed. But Satan does not have the power to raise somebody from the dead. They erected a statue so that everybody could worship this. And the people that worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. There's going to be perseverance for those that know the Lord during the tribulation. Is it going to be easy for them to accept the Lord and live during the tribulation? No. A lot of them will be killed. A lot of them will be martyred and tormented and ridiculed and mocked. Remember, you're not going to be able to buy or sell if you don't have the mark. It's not going to be easy. Just like it may not be easy for us someday, if it comes to this, for us to take a stand for the Lord. Now, let's look, if you would, verse 14. This is a vision of Armageddon. Do you know what Armageddon is? What is it? The final battle. All the armies of the world and the people of the world are going to be gathered in the valley of Megiddo. And we'll see what's going to happen in just a minute. This is just a vision of it. This is just a vision of it that's coming. And I looked, behold, a white cloud. Upon the cloud one sat like the Son of Man. Who's the Son of Man? Okay, has he come back? Yeah, he's sitting on a cloud, having on his head a golden crown and in his hand a sharp sickle. It's not a popsicle, folks. Do you know what a sickle is? It's got a wooden handle. It's very sharp. It's used to harvest grain and different crops. It's very, very sharp. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. Now, here's what we have. This is considered the harvest of the wheat. He's going to come and take a sickle and harvest the grain. He's going to harvest the grain. Let me get where I am here. It's not really grain, though, is it? What is it? People. The first time Jesus came, he came in humility to seek and to save the lost. Is that right? The second time he comes isn't the rapture, because he doesn't come to the earth. He meets us in the clouds. But the second time he comes, it's the worst time in world history. He's going to be the reaper. He's going to be able to finally reap the earth with his wrath and his vengeance against all those that rejected him. There's two harvests. The grain harvest, verses 14 to 16. Verse 16, and he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Now, we call this the grain harvest because there's another harvest. Look at verse 17. Another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came from the altar which had been the power over fire, and cried with a loud voice to him that had the sickle, saying, thrust in that sharp sickle, gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for our grapes are fully ripe. The grain harvest, the people, and then there's the grape harvest, because it said the grapes are fully ripe. The angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. The winepress was trodden without the city. Blood came out of the winepress, even under the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Now, we're going to have a grain harvest, people, and then it says the grapes are fully ripe. That means the time is now. God's anger has reached its limit. Can God be angry? Yes. The sickle completes the harvest with speed and severity, overripe past the point of usefulness. The grapes are overripe. They're past their use, the point of usefulness. Now, it says that the blood is going to go up to what? Horse's bridle. How tall would that be? What do you think? How much? The horse's bridle is usually about 4 foot high. It's not going to be that deep everywhere, but it's going to splatter that high. It may be that deep when Jesus gets done. For 80 to 200 miles, blood will be that deep or that high. Do you want to be here for that? No. Aren't you glad you're not going to be? You're not. Now, this is just a vision of what's going to happen. In chapter 19, when we get there, we're actually going to see what happens. But you need to understand, this is the end of time. There won't be another chance. Will everyone have heard the gospel by this time? Matthew 24:14 says they will. But they won't accept. They will still continue to mock and reject and continue to not want anything to do with God. They will trust the Antichrist, they'll worship the image, but they won't turn to Christ. Isn't that dumb? Stupid? Ignorant? Why? Pride? What else? They're blind. Satan has blinded their eyes. We all have people in our family that need to come to the Lord. And we think about it. Why won't they? We've spoken to them. They've heard the gospel. But there's blinders over their eyes. They just don't see. And that's why it's so important before it's everlastingly too late for us to do what we need to do. Tell them. Bring them to church. Help them to understand what's happened to you. Everybody has a testimony. If you don't have one, you need to have one. Tell them what's happened to you. You just heard David Ring's partial testimony. He's going to tell us what happened to him. That's what we need to do. What will it take for you to get somebody to come to church? What does it take? You have to invite them. You know they're not going to come on their own. How many times do we have people walk in the door? They sit down, but you never see them again. Never. You've got to invite them. And that's the personal invitation you need to give them. Give them one of those cards. Help them to realize that you care about them. And you want them to not have to go through what we're studying in Revelation. If they're afraid of the book of Revelation, invite them to church. Are you understanding the book of Revelation? I hope so. Because you'll be blessed if you do. And that's the purpose for this whole thing. Now, I have a song this morning, and it's sung by 3 people. They're called the Martins. They're 2 sisters and a brother. I want you to listen to their harmony. I'm trying to educate you folks about music. Harmony is a very, very important part of music. And I want you to hear their harmony. It's perfect because they're brothers and sisters. So their voices melt together.